With the Catalyst League exploding in popularity, and the melee relic being by far the strongest choice, the majority of players are switching to swords, spears and lances for the first time, or are new to the game and don't know where to go for gear upgrades. Whether you're playing leagues or not, here's a quick rundown of the bosses and activities you can tackle for weapon and armor upgrades for melee. Your first several armor and weapon sets will be mined and smithed yourself. There's an upgrade every 10 tiers all the way to level 100, but all of the basic armor obtained this way are tank armors, and the weapons are weaker than boss drops of the same tier, so it's more of a placeholder. The exception to this is the Masterwork armor. Made at 99 smithing, it requires a lengthy process, smelting and folding alloys of all other metals over several hours, but will guarantee you tier 90 power armor, and is the second strongest melee armor set in the entire game. There are also useful items up to tier 70 that can be obtained from shops. The Dragon Halberd and Dragon Two-Handed Sword from Port Tyrus and Xanaris respectively are great for killing large groups of enemies at once, and the Crystal Halberd is a solid augmentable tier 70 melee weapon to get you started. If you don't wish to spend a whole day smithing Masterwork armor and weapons, you can instead beat up a variety of bosses to progress. General Grador in the God Wars dungeon is a very easy boss you can kill in seconds that drops the full Bandos armor set, tier 70 power armor, as well as the tier 75 Bandos Godsword, hilt and shards. A good start, but quickly superseded by Vindicta and Gorvek in God Wars Dungeon 2, who drops the Dragon Rider Lance and Anima Core of Zaros equipment, which are superior tier 80 weapons and armor. From here, you have a couple choices. You can brutalize Rathis, the Rex Matriarch on Anachronia for pieces of the Laniakea Spear, a weapon with tier 90 damage and a passive that buffs poison. You can fight the Calphite King for dual-wield tier 90 Drygor weaponry, slay the twin spiders Araxor and Araxi for a tier 90 Noxious Scythe, or tackle Nex for some very tanky tier 80 Torva armor, though the fight is very hard with melee. As with all other styles, the cape upgrade still remains very important due to the buffs it provides to the damaging ultimate skill Overpower. After breezing through the fight caves and dunking on Jad, you'll have to sacrifice your fire cape to fight the Elder Kiln, a harder challenge where upon defeating Harakan you will get a Kiln cape. This can then be further upgraded with an Igneous Stone obtained from completing a full Zuck run without dying. The third in the series of wave-based combat trials, significantly harder and with a final boss, Zuck himself, waiting at the end. Once you've obtained your tier 90 weapon of choice and the Igneous Cape, and are happy with your armor, there are 4 final paths to becoming the ultimate warrior. The Dragonkin Laboratory, often called Elite Dungeon 2, has 3 bosses that each drop a melee ability codex. These will permanently buff your abilities and are significant upgrades to your damage output. For your weapons, you have a choice between dual-wield and two-handed. Dual-wield Leng swords are created from drops obtained from the Arch Glacor, and start out at tier 85, but can be upgraded to incredibly powerful tier 95 weapons, with a rare unique from the hard mode of the boss. Whilst it's a relatively easy boss, this can be a long grind. For the two-handed weapon, you'll return to Zuck to fight him in hard mode, where all the enemies have doubled health and waves of fire occasionally spread across the arena. Zuck himself also has an extra final phase where you have to cycle defensive abilities to block one-shot attacks. But get all 3 pieces of the Magma Blade, and you can craft the Exakill, a weapon with a special attack capable of dealing 100,000 damage in a single hit. Last but certainly not least are the Vestments of Havoc and the Chaos Roar Codex, both obtained from defeating the God of Chaos himself, Zamorak. A complex fight involving edicts you can activate in any order, and several mechanics, with a final stand extra mechanic in Enrage mode. It is a very challenging boss, however the rewards are worth it. The Vestments of Havoc grant increased maximum adrenaline and adrenaline gain, and increase the duration of your Berserk ultimate, and the Chaos Roar ability doubles the damage of your next attack. There is also the Shard of Genesis, obtained from defeating a mascot in a group, or defeating the Sanctum of Rebirth solo, which will upgrade any tier 95 weapons you do obtain into tier 100 weapons. With so many paths to choose and so many weapons to obtain, melee is one of the harder styles to truly achieve best in slot gear in. I didn't even mention some of the more niche items, such as the Spear of Annihilation from the Warforged dig site, Jaws of the Abyss from Abyssal Beasts, the Masterwork Sword you can smith yourself, and the Zaros Godsword obtainable from Telos, so there are plenty more items to discover if you wish to look further.